Okay, today's guests help women turn their love of arts and crafts into flexible, income generating craft clubs for kids. With backgrounds in architecture and engineering, they left the corporate world in search of more creativity and freedom and found it by teaching fun, educational, STEM based craft classes in their local community. And today they've helped more than 10,000 women in 80 plus countries do the same through practical training, ready made lesson plans, and simple tech tools. They make it really easy to start and grow kids' craft clubs that spark creativity, and they also build real world skills that fit your lifestyle, which is what we're all about around here, building and designing your own life. So a massive welcome to today's guests, Christelle and Stefanie, the founders of Creative Crafting Club. Welcome.
Hi, Michelle. Thanks so much for having us. Lovely to see you again.
It is so good to see you. So we actually all met up in Portugal. We did a great hike together. It was super good fun. And that's the first time that I met Christelle and Stefanie. And I have to say their journey into the arts, going from engineering and and kind of the corporate world, let's say, where you're so probably detached from creativity, but the journey you've taken since then, I can't wait to unpack that today, which is what we're going to be talking about, how you went from that to building the business that you have today. But also we're going to be talking a lot about the impact that you've had on other people and how other people can do the same as you as well, which is what you're now passing on. And I love that because I think as artists, we learn so much by being creative. We are curious. It's a default, isn't it? We are asking questions and asking how we can turn something else into what we feel or see. And then by sharing that on with others, this ripple effect is happening around the world for us all sharing and being so open. So I just absolutely love it. So thank you so much for taking the time out. And for those who are signing up for the Teacher Arts Summit, Christelle and Stefanie are special guest speakers at that summit, which we'll talk a little bit more about later on, because right now I just want to get stuck into the journey and unpack this because it's an incredible story. And as I was reading through the notes before I came on, I actually started to feel a bit emotional as I was reading the impact that you're having and just recapping on why art is so important, and especially to children. But also to empower women and other people to live a creative life and share that with children. So I think the work you're doing is just super, super, super important. So can we talk about where you're at right now? And then I'd love to go back to the beginning. So tell us where you're at right now in terms of the craft clubs and your business, and then we'll unpick how you got to where you are.
Sure. So as you mentioned, we help women all over the world start their own craft clubs. So it's mostly educators, mums, creatives, homeschoolers. And then we teach them how they can earn extra income doing something they love. So it's about more freedom and confidence and creating a steady income from just working a few days a week, so that you have more time spending with spend with those you love. And yes, we've taught thousands of women over the world. And we have a membership called the CCC Academy where we teach them. We've got software called WebHub to help them set up websites. And we've got a huge STEM-based craft curriculum with lesson plans that we've done in our studio. And then we share them with our members. So it's all about teaching kids through hands-on STEM-based crafts. So it's really fun and we love what we do. And
Tell us what I was just going to say, tell us what STEM-based is for those who don't know what STEM refers to. Can you let us know what that means?
So to explain it in a simple way is we build crafts that can do things with children. So from rockets that shoot into the air and cars that drive with elastic bands. So STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and maths. And there's an art component as well. So in a fast-paced, tech-heavy world, crafting gives children a space to slow down and reconnect with joy, but then also to build those super skills like problem solving, creativity, critical thinking, without a single screen in sight, which is the best. So it prepares them for the future in a grounded, playful way for jobs that don't even exist yet. In one of our classes, I actually asked the children, it was a group of 8-year-olds, what they want to be when they grow up one day. And the answers were they want to work in AI, they want to design YouTube videos, they want to send rockets into space. It's just so different from what we would have answered when we were kids. And that's why it's so important to practice these super skills with them instead of them, just focusing on the mainstream things that's been taught in schools. And that's why art is so important.
Absolutely.
To slow them down as well.
Yeah, and just get them off those screens and doing hands-on creative projects.
100%.
Yeah. And great for the parents too, to be witnessing that, because I guess for grown-ups too, it's difficult because we're living in this world where we're kind of being impacted in the same ways, aren't we? And what I love about this is you are helping people who, I know, speaking from my own experience being a parent, there's that period of time where your babies are really young, and for a while you kind of lose yourself, and it's hard to find a purpose. In some situations, my babies were really close together, and so it was hard to find work and be consistent in that. And so I think this is so great that you're helping people build this into their own lifestyle, so that for after school clubs, it just slots in and it's not like an all day thing. And so I just think it's brilliant in today's world that we can build that flexibility around our lives, which is what you've done. You've got young children, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah, we both have 2 kids.
Yeah.
So
and
flexibility is key.
And that's so right. And I think so often, as you say, I mean, we both come from corporate careers, but so often moms step out of their career and they have young kids, and it kind of takes over their lives, and they lose their purpose and their joy and their fulfillment. And by just stepping in with a few hours a week, teaching kids arts and crafts, it kind of gives, I mean, we've got members from all spheres of life, and the feedback we've received is that it gives them something to wake up for, and something that just excites them and puts a smile on their face. And walking into a class of children just waiting and with little eager faces, so excited for them to arrive. And what are we making today? That kind of excitement and the love that they share with, the love of art that they share with little ones. It really is a happy world and a happy space, and a nice a market that we work in, so different from building sites.
I want to talk about that actually in the next question, but before we move on, just to kind of echo what you've just said there, I would imagine as well, for the people that you're helping teach children, it's such a joy, isn't it, to work with kids, especially in a creative realm, because I think for me, I've been detached from my own creativity for a while. And I think going back to basics and going back to craft and just playing is the best way to kind of reignite the creative child within us all. And I think being in a classroom with kids and doing it with children, and you hear them with a different, complete outlook to you, it can really inspire you as a grown-up as well, can't it? When you hear and see how they see the world, and you think, oh yeah, like why because we've become detached from that in a way. So I love it. And so I'm really thinking about adopting these skills that you teach for like my own children as well, because I feel like we need more creative acts and things together. So you do extend to that, don't you, to homeschooling and people that have got children. So you don't have to just run an after school club. It can be learning from your curriculum in a way that you use it at home and with friends. And
we do have members who just use the curriculum and what we teach with their own kids, but we often see it's grow from there, where the friends' kids want to come, and then before they know it, they have a club and they're running weekly classes. So everyone wants in on the fun.
It's like inevitable. It's going to happen. Yeah. So let's go back. So I know that at the very beginning, you used to do weekly classes as children yourselves. There was a local lady that you did classes with. So is that kind of like your first recollection of having that impact of art and it kind of resonating with you both?
100%. So we both took classes as kids, and I remember that classroom so vividly. Like, we had these giant sheets of paper that we could just cover with color and stickiness of paper mache. And the interesting thing was, it was a safe and creative and a joyful environment. It was just this lady who taught classes at her home, and we would go there for weekly classes. And it was years later that we had the conversation with our mom, and she said to us that those classes took place on a lonely trestle table in the ladies' garage. It was nothing fancy, but as kids, we didn't notice. What mattered to us was how we felt, and that memory stayed with us. I mean, it's one of my fondest memories as a kid, and as adults, when we started with our corporate careers, we really missed that. We missed that, freedom, the flexibility we had when we were younger in that creative environment.
Yeah. And so as you grew into adults, was creativity still part of your life, or was it very much you went into the corporate world and you kind of didn't have any creativity going on? Tell us how that happened.
I definitely lost my creativity as an engineer going into corporate, but I mean, Christelle, as an architect, she designed buildings and houses and amazing things. So there was that creative element, but then, I mean, tell a bit about.
But it was very much behind a computer. So yes, you do a small portion of a building is the creative design side, but then thereafter, we were stuck in 85 jobs working for corporates behind a computer. And I think the flexibility and that really lacked for us. And so we made the change, and it actually started from burnout, where I started teaching once a week. I got a space, and I just started teaching. I called it mini architecture. I got a group of kids together, friends' kids, and it was just fun. I didn't charge them for it. So on a Thursday afternoon, they would come to my studio. I would do some other creative things there as well. And we started building mini architecture stuff. And it was basically still similar crafts to what we do now in our STEM club.
Yeah.
And that class just became so popular. And the class filled up very quickly, and there was a wait list. And I was like, no, this is my outlet.
My passion
project. I'm not going to have so many kids in here. And then moms wanted in. So that's how the whole thing snowballed. So I actually ended up putting a few lesson plans together, and the moms started getting groups together at their homes, and they would do the same classes at their homes. And they experienced the freedom and the flexibility and the fun, and they would charge for it. So they got some income. And the purpose, as we spoke about, running their own clubs. And then we realized we hit a vein. So Steph then joined me for lunch one day, and she said to me, you should turn this into something bigger. And I was like, no, this is like my de-stressing. I'm still running my architectural firm on the side. I said, why don't you turn it into something bigger, and get it out into the world so that other females could do the same. And then she quit her job the next day.
I remember going home, and I told my husband, like, I'm going to do a spreadsheet. So I did a spreadsheet, and I was like, yes, this is amazing. I mean, it's a gap in the market. Women want to teach these classes. They love teaching classes. The kids need these skills. So the next day I did quit my job.
Yeah. And then
now it's 7.5 years later.
In 2 years, we turned our small club, and we started teaching at 61 locations.
Wow.
And then it snowballed from there. So 7 years
just
in.
Taking a minute to go. Amazing. What an amazing transformation. And I know there's probably lots of people sitting here listening in right now who maybe feel trapped. I hear it a lot about being trapped in a non-creative job and don't know how to transition out. And I hope this story is just giving you a glimmer of hope that you can transition, and it can start with a small step, like setting up a club. And it can start in a way where, like Christelle's just described, that it wasn't even for money to begin with. It was just, let me just do this. Let me just put the feelers out, and how it can grow in such a short space of time. And quite often it's just taking that first step, isn't it? Taking that first step. And I think people often get in their way because I think, I'm not making money out of this. People aren't paying me, so it's not going to go anywhere. But actually you took the first step, and then it grew and grew.
Yeah, and there's this myth about if you want to teach kids that you need a fancy studio space and
Yeah.
fancy supplies and formal qualifications, and that's not the truth. I mean, I had no idea how to teach kids. I would literally just winged it. And
Yeah.
and we use a lot of recycled materials for our crafts. We reuse our materials. Our paint lasts for years, and you can be
Yeah.
so smart and not spend a lot of money, and kids don't mind. And that's where that whole message around what our art classes at Auntie Gerda's house meant for us, about it not being fancy at all. It's about what you do and the safety and the creativity that and just providing a space for children where they can come and experience that. And that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have any advice for anyone who's maybe listening in thinking, oh, this could be a good idea for me? And I know that you're going to talk more about this in the summit and you've got other things where you teach this, but I would imagine some of the things that stop people is the connecting, like how you get started with finding those first few opportunities. Do you remember those first few days? I know it started for you, Christelle, with just reaching out to people that you know to begin with. How did it then progress from the connection of friends to a school or to the next phase where it started to actually make some money and feel like, okay, this is real now?
Okay, I'll start with the answer there, but I would say that starting small is it's not really enough. It's actually better than enough. It's more powerful than just renting a big space and just trying to go too big too soon and having it polished and perfect. So it's actually better to just get a small group together, and it's about you, and it's about giving them something that we create toys with children. So inevitably, when they go out onto the sport field with their kite that they've made, or they're running around with a rocket in their hand that they've just made, or a marble run, or a tic-tac-toe game, that kind of thing, it creates FOMO with the children, and they're like, I want to do that too. So for us, we've experienced that the word spreads by itself. And then also teaching at schools is a massive. We didn't have children at the time when we started. I mean, my son's only 6. We started 7 years ago, and we found that if you tap into a school network, your classes fill up so quickly if that's what you want to do. The other one thing that I want to say is that you can start small, but there's real income potential with running a club.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute, because I was quite shocked because I think, I don't know, I had a misconception maybe, and I would imagine quite a few people do, that, oh, there's no money in that, so I'm not going to go down that road. You know, you just kind of dismiss it straight away as like, there's just no point me doing that. So tell us about that, because we might as well admit all here that now that, you know, the money is a factor, isn't it? We can go so far, we're doing things for free, but actually when you've got children and things, the money's a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of our members come into our world and they're like, oh, how dare I charge for this? You know,
Yeah.
it's fun, it's too fun for me to expect people to pay for it, type of thing. And the reality is parents, so most of our members are US based and then followed by the UK. And our members are charging $25 to $50 for a class per week. And they also, in the UK, I'd say it's around anywhere from like 10 to 20 pounds per class.
Yeah.
And it obviously depends on you know, the community that you're in and what people are accustomed to pay for after school classes. But if you think about like this, so let's take $25 per class as an example, and say you have 12 students join you for classes on a weekly basis, that's $1,200 per month, which is a nice extra income for about, 2 hours of work per week. And then, you know, what you start with one class and then you grow it from there. Usually our members have wait lists and then they add classes as they need to. But if you do 5 classes a week, say you do one class per day, Monday to Friday.
4 days,
four times in a month, that number jumps up to like over $6,000. And again, that's just for a few hours of work per week. So there's some serious money to be made here. And what we see in our membership is a lot of educators joining us, and then they work full time. They start these classes after school or on weekends. And then as they start adding classes, they are able to actually quit their teaching jobs and do this full time, and then with it comes all of the flexibility. And we've got some star members, like I'm thinking about Cara, who actually got into a school district, and she now had to hire 7 instructors to help her teach at 28 schools after class, and she's built this little, whole empire. And I'm thinking of Juliana, who teaches about 60 kids per week, and she's been able to build a house with the money that she created from her craft class. And she wasn't working before she started her craft class.
And she had no teaching experience. Yeah. So there's a lot of members making great successes. And we've got a bunch of teachers who work at our local club. And I mean, one of our teachers, our club, actually quit her teaching job now because she's making enough money with just working for us, part-time, doing nice flexible hours. Yeah. So there's good money to be made if you take it seriously.
Yeah, and art programs, the funding for art programs are being cut, and parents are willing to pay for these types of classes because they realize that their kids need these skills. Their kids need to learn how to innovate and create, and they need to learn how to be resilient. And these classes, they really see the value in it. So people are absolutely willing to pay for this type of thing for their kids.
Yeah, I'm in that camp. I mean, I spend a lot of money on clubs for my children. So yeah, I totally believe that if you find the right pool of people, it's there, isn't it? The need is there.
Yeah, and I guess a tip. Sorry, Michelle. Christelle mentioned earlier that getting into schools is a great starting point. I would highly recommend that. We didn't do that from the beginning, but when we started doing that, our club took off. But when you do look at schools to approach for this type of club, just make sure that the school already is running after school clubs, because not all schools are. And if there are clubs at the school and people are already paying for extra ballet and extra soccer and extra chess and all of that, then the parents are willing to pay for extra after school clubs, and that they're already accustomed to signing up for clubs. So that really helps in terms of eliminating which schools to approach first.
Yeah, that's a great tip. And can you just share other ways that people, I know you touched on it at the beginning, but the ways that other people can do this? So schools is one way, and I know you'll speak more on this in the summit, but what other ways can people run these clubs so they can kind of do it just as in their homes, can't they? Or, could you share us just a few ways?
Yeah, I mean, you can start around your dining room table at home. Many of our members do that. And you can also approach libraries, community centers. Some of our members even run their classes in parks, which I think is so lovely in the summer. Yeah. And, country clubs,
especially for corporate events and birthday parties. A tip would be just to go where the kids are. So many of our members use restaurants on slow mornings. It's a win-win for everyone, because especially if they do it for younger children and the parents come with, then the moms order a coffee and they bring the children for the crafting, and they get the venue for free, and the restaurant gets customers, and you get a free space and good parking and facilities. So there are many opportunities.
And then I will just add to that many of our members grow their in-person clubs, and then they want to reach a bigger market. So then they end up going online, where they are doing online classes. And some of them also sell DIY kits, where they actually send the supplies with the instructions to the kids, and then they do the crafts at home. And then they, some of them even have an online video that they watch to do the craft at home. So there's so many ways to do this. I'd say in person is by far the most fun, because you actually get to work with the kids and form a relationship. And it's just so rewarding.
And I've actually known people in the UK being able to get space for free because they're bringing clientele. So cafes sometimes have there's one person that I know where they went into a cafe and they had a ground floor that wasn't being used. and they let them run clubs because you're bringing people to the cafe, and they let them use that space for free. And sometimes I just think keep an open mind there too, because quite often you can find space for free. People think that that's going to be an additional cost, which it can be sometimes, but then there's sometimes not, which is why schools are great, because they don't tend to charge, do they, for using the space.
We some schools do. We did a poll in our community to actually understand this, and I think 45% of our members said that the schools don't charge them to use the classroom, and then the rest said that the school charges a small fee, per child. So then at least there's not a big flat rate that you need to pay. You can say, okay, I've got 10 students, so they take a small percentage per student or a small dollar fee. So it's a good option.
It's amazing. And I just want to reiterate as well that you work with people, don't you, that don't have any experience in this? Because I think one of the things that crops up a lot is the imposter syndrome. Like, I don't know if I could teach anyone anything. And I see that a lot, which is why we want to talk more about this topic, because we see so many people in our community who could be teaching and benefiting and making an income. But some of the things that are getting in their way are, I don't have any experience teaching this. And then I think the other one is what you touched on, Stefanie, is I speak with a lot of people that are massively undercharging. They're charging like they're not even making the money back on their materials. Yeah. And could you speak to those two kind of challenges of, one, the imposter syndrome, and then two, the undercharging, and how you get to that point of actually making money from it, and what you need to be thinking?
Yeah, the imposter syndrome is a big one. And the reality is, when you work with children, it's actually better to not be an amazing artist or to be a qualified scientist if you want to do like the sciencey stuff, or to have all these massive qualifications, because kids, they just resonate with fun. And they often feel, if you bring a sample to class and it's this, I mean, we've got so much art up here in our studio, we can just like turn it like that, and you can have a look at all the art in our studio. If we take these perfect samples along to class, they actually sometimes feel intimidated by it. So often if I make a sample for class, I would just work rough and just show the concept. And also, you don't want to interfere with their creativity, because they come up with the most amazing ideas. We did hobby horses the other day, where we created these nice heads and used paper tubes and connected it at the bottom, and they were running around on the sport field with the hobby horses. And I didn't take a sample with. And the kids, some of the children made dinosaurs, some made hobby horses, some made unicorns. It was just, the creativity was just amazing. And they all used the same basic structure of how to assemble the actual hobby horse. So it was nice and sturdy. But in a way, it's the one thing is also with the imposter syndrome is to just to not be perfect, and just to take it one step at a time, and realize you're working with children, and they're just so forgiving. It's actually the perfect space to be in, to not have people judge you, and they're just so forgiving. And what was the second question?
So just around the teaching, creating confidence as a teacher, because I mean, we don't have teaching background, so that freaked the heck out of me. Like, teaching kids, I would rather present in a boardroom of 10 grown-ups than have 10 kids around the table. When we started out, I was really scared. And but just starting small, and just having that class every week, and your confidence grows immensely, and you're like, okay, I can actually do this. And having a lesson plan to follow, like our lesson plans, we call it we follow an engagement formula, because there's a specific pattern to it where you actually start the class by having no materials on the table. So when they come into the classroom, there's nothing on the table, which sounds weird, right? Because on Pinterest, you'll always have these like beautifully set up tables with the paintbrushes just ready,
vases of flowers.
Yeah, gorgeous. But then what happens if you have all the materials out is the kids like, go, go, go. And you show them the example, they go, go, go. And then in 5 minutes, they're like, okay, I'm done. I'm bored. Like, what's next type of thing? And that's a nightmare, right? So what we do with our lesson plans is you start with empty tables. And then when the kids get into the classroom, you ask them a bunch of questions and you engage them. It's like a guessing game, like what are we going to make? And you do a bit of storytelling, and then you hand out the first.
So excited.
Yeah. It's like this big guessing game, and then you hand out the first material, and then you take it like that. So you hand out the material. You pace them during the class, and then also, you know, little game breaks. There's a wind down activity at the end, but that helps a lot to have a structure to follow, because then you can do it with, you know, could teach with confidence, knowing that, you know, you have your steps, and you are keeping the kids engaged.
Yeah, they're great tips. I'm going to have to take some notes straight away after this for my own children, because they're always like that. I'm bored, done now. The last 2 minutes. So the second question, actually, I asked, but has come in, so I'm going to ask it from Sue. So I'd love to teach art classes for little people from the art studio at home, but I have this preconception that it won't earn as much because parents will go up at the cost. But I know that's a mindset thing, and I have the training. So yeah, it's common, Sue. I've spoken to lots of people that have this perception that they don't even go down that road because they just write it off as, I'll never make money in that industry. So I know you've shared some stories already from people that are earning, and they are, and it's finding the right cohort of people. But I think we should maybe talk about the mindset piece for a minute.
Mindset is a big part of running a club, and people who pay attention. If you want people to come week after week, and we always encourage our members to look at recurring income, so that they charge in blocks. So we charge in blocks of 10 to 11 classes at a time, and the parents pay up front. And it's really nice to do it that way, because then you have no risk. You can buy supplies if needed for that block, and you have all your costs covered. Not that you do have a lot of expenses, but and you also don't have to chase money on a weekly basis, which is a horrible thing to have to do if it doesn't come naturally to you. And in that way, the parents, they're committed, and they actually do bring their kids every week. And especially if you teach at schools, the kids are already there, so the parents just leave them a bit later. It's a win-win for everyone, because it's just so convenient. And they tick that box. For many parents, it's basically just wanting to tick a box of, okay, they are doing that creative thing that they feel they must, and they don't know how. The parents don't know how. So you're providing them with that a service where they tick a box in their brain, and they know that, okay, cool, I've got that covered, and it's for you must look at it as if you are providing a service to your community, and you're giving this gift to parents, because they don't know how to do it. Many parents don't want a messy space. I'm an art mom, so I love having a big art table that's always set up with like creative stuff for my kids. But most parents hate that. They don't want their homes to look like art studios. So it's a mindset thing of, you're giving them a gift, and they are paying for it, but you have to charge for it, so they take you seriously.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think it's also about educating the parents about the awesomeness that is STEM crafting. So what we do is, after on the flyers, advertising, talking about these classes, as well as after the class, we actually send out a parent handout with photos from the class to the parents to educate them on the super skills the kids learned, like what they did in class, like how they can further develop these skills at home. And I think parents then realize, like, oh my goodness, this isn't just art classes. These are amazing classes. And the kids, of course, come home and they tell their parents all about the awesome rocket they built that could actually shoot, and what they will change next time to make it shoot even further. So it's all about like asking questions to help kids learn how to problem solve, how to think critically about things. And it's funny, always when we get new members come in, we always have the perfectionist, the artist that come in and say, oh, but, they want to send home this perfect artwork, after the class. But, sometimes it's not perfect and it comes out, imperfect. And we always just say, it's about the process. It's about the experience. And that's what you are selling in your marketing. It's not, that everyone has this perfect artwork that they send home. Absolutely not. And if something doesn't go right. Like if the lesson is around creating this little car that drives with elastic bands, and the kids, some of them don't figure out that mechanism. It's about sending them home and saying, think about it. What can we change? Try it again and figure it out, because those are the important skills that we're building.
And we communicate that with parents. We've got a group, and we will share afterwards, and we'll often include little cute snippets of what kids have said and the things that they experience in class. And the parents, they love it. Our kids come back block after block after block. We have almost zero churn with our students, and we've got wait lists. And we don't advertise and say we're going to make a hobby horse today. We sell the concept of STEM crafts, and they sign up for it, and they don't know what they're going to create the whole term or the whole block. And
it's part of the fun.
It takes all the stress away from us.
Yeah. And you've got flexibility to adapt then as well, because I would imagine you've got a group, and if something's, going in a direction and they're all loving it, you can tweak things and mold it to be as per. Yeah.
And because we use so much recycled materials, often it will be that we've got, say, I don't know, 50 kids that we could doing in one age group, maybe doing a safari vehicle, and we make it out of carton, what do you call it, milk carton boxes. And then it takes a while to get 50 milk carton boxes. And there's just one week. So the other thing is that we really love is the communities involved in our recycling project. And we send them, my neighbor is this old, lovely, sweet man, and he cuts up his cardboard boxes for me, and he brings it in stacks for me. And then I always send photos to him and his wife afterwards of the kids and what they've created. And it just brings him and he washes his plastic bottles and he puts them neatly together for me. And it is just
that's lovely.
It's a community project, and everybody gets joy out of it. And the children learn amazing skills. Recycling is amazing for children to learn to use things, to build things from nothing.
Yeah. And I also think when you're just starting out, your friends and family want to support you. They just don't know how. So asking them to collect recycled materials for you to use in the project, it's such a great way for them to feel included and feel supportive of you.
And having them sponsor children as well. Often friends and family want to invest in a new business, and they support you. And so we do funding rounds. We encourage our members to do that, where they'll have, if a family member wants to support you, let them pay for a child in your class, and it's a win-win for every family and friends involved.
I love it. So recently we had to do a home project, and it was building. It was a building that we had to build, and I kind of, even though I am quite creative, I don't see myself being good at crafty things. And so I was like, oh, really, I've got to do this for the kids. But when we started it and we got into it, it was so much fun, because what you've just described, like the problem solving, but then also you've got an idea, and then you kind of half seeing it coming together, and you're like, oh, I can make this even better. So, it's such a great activity. And I think I was talking to a friend, I was walking this weekend, and a friend of mine was saying how in the universities in the UK, I'm not sure if it's all the universities, but especially up north, they're actually making people choose between, I think it's in secondary schools, sorry, they're making people choose between science and arts. So it used to be you choose between arts and another kind of arts, like geography or history or something like that. But now it's like they're making people choose between science and art, two major subjects that you just can't choose between, because they like you're saying, they come together. And so what we're seeing in the UK, because of people then going towards the sciences, because they're seeing that as an important part of their education, that now people going into universities, there's hardly anybody taking up the arts, because people have gone down the science route instead. So it's a big issue here in the UK. So I think starting it young and getting people integrated with this, bringing it together, the sciences, the arts, and the curiosity and the exploration is key. And that's what you're doing, isn't it? You're bringing it together. So I think the more that we can do to pass that on to the next generation, and I think that's where I was getting emotional when I was reading what you do earlier, because we can see the impact on children, coming from the education system, but also in all forms, societal forms too. And so I think getting people hands-on is so, so important. So I love that you are spreading that message far and wide and being here inspiring everyone else. I know there's people in the chat who are interested in doing this, and I hope it's really inspired you. I think as we wrap up, are there any final thoughts for people that are thinking about doing this, that in the past have maybe people haven't taken the step forwards? It's like, have you got any advice, or even maybe advice that you would give to yourselves starting back out again? Because I would imagine you've got so much experience now in this. Would you do things differently if you started out again?
Yes, absolutely. So the first tip, we will talk a little bit about this more at the summit, but is just to niche down, just to take away the noise, to pick one age group and pick one thing, to maybe try in-person crafts for a specific age group of kids, rather than trying to serve kids and adults and teens and senior homes and all of that. So we tried to do it all, and our marketing became so muddled up. And the moment we focused on teaching STEM crafts to tots to tweens, mainly at schools as an after school program, it was so much easier to sell, and it just put everything into
The riches
everything
are
fell
in the
into place.
niches.
Yeah.
That's definitely, the riches are in the niches. That's a good point, Steph.
Yeah.
Also, if you have imposter syndrome, just think about the ripple effect. So sure, it always starts with yourself. So you're looking for more creativity and income and flexibility, but then also just think about that impact on the lives of the children. And as you mentioned, those super skills that is needed for future proofing children, problem solving, creativity, critical thinking that we just spoke about, and how important that is. And that you are providing a service and giving a gift to your community by providing that service, because we as parents don't always have the time or the know-how how to do that. So it's not just about you, it's about that ripple effect, and it's about communicating that correctly, so that people will understand the value of what it is you're providing. So as Stefanie mentioned.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much. I know there's more questions in the comments because we're hosting this podcast live for those who are watching or listening to the replay. If you have more questions, I see some about health and safety insurance and things like that. If you take part in the summit, the link will be around here somewhere. We have a lawyer joining the summit to give advice on all of those questions around legals and health and safety. And then if there's any extra questions related to what Christelle and Stefanie have spoken about, again, during the summit, we'll be opening up Q&A sessions during the summit. So bring those questions during that event that starts on the 7th. And then Christelle and Stefanie, you have an event that's also happening a bit later in July as well, don't you? So we'll make sure that people joining the summit have access to that after they've seen your talk. And where can people find you to go and start following you?
At creativecraftingclub.com. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, Creative Crafting Club. Yeah, do a search and you'll find us.
Yeah, we'll put the links below as well to this. Yeah, what an incredible journey. I just think it's amazing. Thank you for taking the time to share it. It's always so fascinating to hear how people go from A to B to C, and all. It's never a straight line, is it? It's always like this. But it's just so fascinating to hear. And I think also a huge inspiration to how people can move from a job that you're not enjoying and speaking to those people who are maybe in that right now, or artists who need extra income and you want to do something alongside selling your art. Maybe it's this option is available to so many different types of people. So thank you for sharing those insights. If you are watching this back, please do comment below, let us know what you think, and if you have any questions too. And thank you to Christelle and Stefanie.
Thanks, Michelle. It was lovely to see you again.
Having us.
Thanks for
And
having
I
us.
look forward to seeing everyone at the summit.
Yeah, exciting. Yeah. Take care, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. See you soon. Bye.
Cheers, Michelle. Bye, everyone.